Alright, good evening everyone. This is the select board meeting for February 14th of 2022. I'll read the agenda real quick here. Under new business, we've got a Zoom meeting with E.J. Prescott on water meters. We got an AmCare agreement, and we need to sign some liquor licenses, sign some fleet permits, and approve meeting minutes from the previous meeting, and sign warrants. So we can get right at it with you guys. If you wanna.
Perfect. So I'm going to share my screen, so let me know if you guys can see this.
Yep,
We good?
Yep, yep.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for having us here. My name is Dan Burden, and I'm a metering specialist for E.J. Prescott. Rob McLaren's on here with us as well. He's your local sales rep out of our South Burlington office. And handles day-to-day sales, everything from, pipe, hydrants, valves, clamps, everything that goes on and everything that we do. And I'm part of a group that focuses more on some of our technology pieces. So, again, any questions you guys have, please let me know and we can go down any path that you want to go down. Just a little bit about Team EJP, for those of you who don't know us. We are a family-owned company. We were incorporated in the state of Maine in 1955. We're currently held by our third generation of the Prescott family, Stephen Prescott. He is our president at this time. And his father, Peter Prescott, who really expanded our business, is our CEO still. We have 29 locations located throughout New England, New York, Indiana, and Ohio. Closest to you guys being up there in Burlington. We also have a division down in Barry, just outside Montpelier, division in Keene, New Hampshire, division in Round Lake, New York, and Concord, New Hampshire, kind of your closest one to you. One thing that's a little unique to the Team EJP is we do have a dedicated group that manage kind of some smart technology when it comes to both water and wastewater. And you'll see there we have a dedicated support team and sales team to water meters and reading systems that we talk about tonight. But we also are involved heavily in GIS work. We do a bunch of stuff with a company called Trimble with GIS and remote monitoring. So that's really been a big piece that's taken off on the wastewater side. We're monitoring pump stations and some other stuff, maybe some real-time alarms on sewer overflows or anything like that. And we also have a whole dedicated group for services. And part of the services group that we can do is meter testing, GIS collection, leak detection, but we also do, insertion valves, taps, all that other stuff as well. That maybe you guys have seen, the big large trucks strolling around that have the cranes on the back. So we have a dedicated service team as well. When we're talking about the water meters, there's really two types of water meters, both the residential and the commercial. I don't know how much commercial stuff you have up there in Sheldon, but that's really anything over 1.5 inches and larger. We consider kind of a commercial account. And we'll do some time on the reading systems, how those all work, how they work together with maybe a billing package or something like that. And then any discussion that you guys want to have after that. Be more than happy to go down any path again. For us, our main meter that we sell, day to day, everywhere we go is called our iPearl water meter. We used to, and we still do have a bronze body positive displacement mechanical meter called an SR2. But the iPearl really for us has dominated our market as a whole for the last 7 years or more, 10 now. Some things with the iPearl that may be different than, do you guys have meters installed currently?
Yes.
Okay, so you probably have mechanical meters that have a chamber inside of them. Water moves through the meter itself, the chamber moves around and around a known amount of water as that displaces it. And then that rotates, a magnetic series of magnets up through to the register, and that turns the odometer wheel that you see on the top of that register. The iPearl is a different piece where the iPearl has no moving parts inside of it. So it uses magnetic technology to measure water, measure the flow of the water And with that removal of the moving parts inside the meter, we're able to capture greater low flow. So when we're talking residential meters, about 85 to 90% of the water that's used is at the low flow value of a residential meter. So we really want to capture as much water as possible for that, because obviously you guys have treated that water, you've moved that water, now we want to recoup as much of that water as possible through the meters themselves. So the iPearls can read a lower low flow value than we could ever do before with a positive displacement meter that anyone can do still currently. So we can read a 32nd of a gallon per minute versus a quarter of a gallon a minute, which over the life of the meter could be a substantial amount of water over time. It is a digital register, so no more, maybe in the past you had the odometer mechanical registers. Sometimes those would click or stick. You'd get numbers that didn't move for a while, and all of a sudden they may jump up again. Obviously, with the removal of all those mechanical parts inside of the register itself, we've removed that problem that could go on before. The meter can be installed horizontal or vertical. So if you have new installs, we don't have to put it in a K-board, we don't have to plumb it in. We can install it vertical, right in line with plumbing, and do that. The iPearl has two warranties inside of the meter itself. So one is on the accuracy, and this is to what's going on in the market right now. It says this, and EJPG warranty this meter accurate for 20 full years. So for 20 years from the date that it's manufactured, it is guaranteed to run at 98.5% or up to 101, and that's set by American Water Works Association. So that new meter standard is set by the AWWA, and we will never drop below that 98.5% accuracy for 20 years, which is the life warranty of that meter. There is a battery inside of the meter, and the battery warranty on the iPearl battery is a 15-year full and a 5-year prorated. So a 15-year full battery warranty is the highest in the market today on any battery in any water meter device or reading device that's currently available on the market. So things that the iPearl can do that we could never do before, because we have that digital register on side of it, it has the ability to store memory inside of the meter itself. So it looks at its usage hour by hour, really minute by minute, and looks at that flow value. And if water runs continuously for 24 hours of every second that it's looking for that water flow, we flag that account as a leak. So the water meters itself can now tell the meter readers, hey, I had a leak in between the last time you read me and when you just read me now. And after that, we can actually go back and do a data log on the meter itself and extract that data out of the meter and say, here's exactly how much water you used and when you used it. So you really have the ability to go to the homeowner and say, hey, we see that your toilet started leaking, on January 5th, and it ran for 15 days straight before you fixed that flapper valve, and you definitely used that much water. And then we just have the ability to have that information and present that to the homeowner if you got that. We also can monitor high flow. So high flow, maybe a pipe breaks or if someone fills a pool and there's a real high flow based on their normal consumption, we can alert that high flow alarm. Empty pipe alarm is it? Oh, do you have a question?
No, we're all set.
Okay. Empty pipe is an alarm that has a feature built into it where if the meter's been in service for an amount of time and then has been removed from service, and air is now in the meter as opposed to water, as it should be, we flag this as an empty pipe alarm. So really what we've seen that come into play is a homeowner thinks they're being a little tricky, takes the water meter out of service, puts a straight pipe in for a week, maybe a month, and puts the meter back in because they know your reading schedule, and then they just get that free water for that certain amount of time that water meter wasn't in place. We have the ability now where we can flag that as kind of a tamper alarm meter. Reverse flow is another kind of tamper piece. We see customers that homeowners flip their water meter around, run it backwards for a certain amount of time, flip it back forward for a certain amount of time, flip it backwards. The iPearl has the ability to have that option where we can see that reverse flow over a certain amount of time. And again, date and time stamp any of these alarms that you see here as a feature when you come around to read your water meters themselves. Then the data logging is done via a tablet. You can do it with an iPad or any Android type tablet and a device called a UniPro device that we have that we use to program our meters and do our data logging with it. But all that can be done with a device. It's just a USB connection to be able to pull that info up. The Ally meter is a new meter for us. Same measuring technology as that iPearl that we just talked about. But couple of cool features that are built into it, it has a shutoff valve built into it. So this is a remote shutoff valve built into the water meter itself that you can control via a radio read device. So if you got a customer that doesn't pay their bill and you do shutoffs, you can shut the meter off without having to get to the curb stop to operate that curb valve, maybe in the winter time or any time that you wanted to do. So you can just connect to the radio that this is hooked to. You can operate the valve. So there's 3 modes inside of that valve. One is just full on, one is full off, or the third is a trickle. So we reduce the flow tube itself down so that water can still pass through, so that maybe they can, fill a glass of water to take meds or just get water. But it's going to take a long time to take a shower and a real long time to do any laundry or anything like that. Usually gets their attention to the point where you can get a call and get a bill paid up a little bit. Another piece that we can do with the iPearl is we can monitor system pressure as well. So there's a pressure sensor built inside of the meter that we can set alarms for high flow pressure situations out there. So as you read the meter, you would pull this pressure information in and see that data as well. So you can kind of see what's going on in the water network as a whole out there in the system. We do have a temperature sensor built into it that's monitoring the water temperature itself. So if you were in a freezing situation or anything like that, you would get that sensor information called through as often as you read. So that's kind of the tricky part a little bit is you get this information as often as you read. And with radio read, you have the ability to read more often, right? So we don't have to bill more often, but we can read more often so that we're capturing this data or any alarms potentially that we see out there in the system going on. Same iPearl alarms as far as continuous flow, backward flow, empty pipe, all that sort of stuff is in the Ally water meter, same as an iPearl. There's a 15-year accuracy warranty on the Ally water meter, and again, we do that data logging where we can pull out all of those alarms and any of that flow hour by hour for all of the systems as well. Any questions on the residential side stuff?
On that Ally water meter, does that got the same battery as the other one?
Yes, it does.
It's the same.
Yeah, same battery, same warranty.
Have you sold many of those yet?
So we see them in more places where it's kind of a onesie-twosie. It's the same places that you're going to maybe every quarter, every other quarter. Or we have situations where maybe it's a building, like a duplex, but you have one service going in. So you don't have the option to shut one side of the duplex off without shutting the whole building off. So we've seen places and customers have put those in those situations where it just gives them the ability to do some shut-offs. But yeah, we see, 5 here, 6 there, but we definitely haven't done a whole system with Ally. So they're about 3 times the price of an iPearl.
Oh, okay.
On the iPearl, can the batteries be changed?
It cannot. So if the battery is under warranty, you get a brand new meter back. So that's a great question. Say if for some reason the battery dies in year 12, you give that meter back to EJP, EJP sends that meter to Census, you get a brand new meter back in its place with a brand new 20-year warranty going forward. So everything is covered by census besides freezing. If it freezes and breaks, that's not a material defect on the meter. So that's it. But everything else is completely covered under warranty, and you would get a brand new meter back in place.
Now, each one of those has to have a herc with it, right? Also? A reader?
A radio, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's the next.
That's in the next part? Okay.
So the Omni meter is, again, everything for us, inch and a half and larger. And I don't know how much, that affects you guys there. But it is a relatively very simple meter. There are a bunch of different models, you could say, of the Omni line, depending on what you're doing. But there's only one moving part inside of the Omni water meter. So this uses what they call floating ball technology. So you can kind of see the white rotor blade inside of the meter itself. And that rotor blade sits in the flow of the water. And again, very good on low flow accuracy. So 2-inch meters, you guys have any 2-inch meters or inch and a half stuff up there?
3 of them, I think, 2-inch ones.
So 2 inches is a classic example that we try to go after real quick, because we can find usually some water and some revenue for you guys. So it's an old 2-inch meter, the low flow on that is probably 4 gallons a minute. So anything under 4 gallons a minute, we're not capturing on those older style meters. Never have, never will. And with a 2-inch Omni, we go down to 1/4 gallon a minute. So we are reading what a 5/8 meter used to in a 2-inch meter size. So when we talk to customers and work with customers, usually large meters is what we love to do first, because you start reoccurring revenue quicker, and it helps pay for your project as you're going forward. So those 2-inch meters, are a big piece that we would want to whack out first, because again, you're going to capture some low flow in those situations. And we see them a lot, everybody's got Dunkin' Donuts around, or you drive by one, and those Dunkin', they used to always try to spec a 2-inch meter. And they knew that slow drip coffee, that ice machine and all that, those old 2-inch weren't capturing that water usage. And with an Omni meter, we absolutely are capturing it. So we're going to recur some revenue with those meters there. They are go ahead.
No questions.
Okay. So ductile iron body, has a strainer, has a test port, electronic register here as well. This is a 10-year register on the Omni meter. So anything after 10 years, we would replace the register, which many times we've seen, the Omni's been out almost 15 years now. And we've gone through kind of the first revolution of registers that have reached their end of life and have done some testing on them. And usually after 10 years, we're starting to lose some accuracy on those larger meters as well. So it's definitely worth, we can do just a chamber swap on these meters, where instead of replacing the entire meter and the cost of the entire meter, you can see this piece here in the middle. This is just the chamber itself. So we can order just this replacement chamber. We undo the 4 bolts of the old chamber, take the old one out, put the new one in. It's 100% factory accurate at that point, and it's essentially installing a brand new meter at that location going forward. So you start reoccurring that revenue again right out of the gate. All this kind of stuff, standard lay length. So whatever you're taking out, we have something that can fit in its space, and we move forward with you guys there. These registers also have those same leak alarms, empty pipe, reverse flow. We can display rate of flow on these meters as well. The data logging is built into them again, so we can pull this information in and out. It does have a pulse out, which if you guys have a SCADA system or anything like that, we can tie these meters back into a SCADA system. So if you had a pump house, maybe that you had a meter in that's not hooked to SCADA, you could put an Omni meter in those places. And we can tie the pulse output that we get out of these registers into SCADA so that you have the ability to monitor them, in real time. We're over all that. So here's the question that you kind of asked earlier. These are our radio read units, or hertz, as some others call them. We have two models that you can see there. We have a pit model, which is the black unit on the bottom, and then we have a non-pit model, which is the other unit, kind of the tan-looking one up there on the top right. They connect to the meters via three-wire design. If you guys have Census touchpads there, we do have a touch coupler radio that can clip directly over the Census touchpad, which is a picture that you see in the middle there. So if you did have meters that were hooked to existing Census touchpads, we do have a radio that clips right over the top of that and no wiring needs to be done at all. These are migratable units, meaning that they operate in a walk-by mode, where you can collect them, again, with a handheld device, even an iPad now we can use, a drive-by, which is more of a laptop-based unit, and for us, we also have a fixed-base system, which might be a little overkill, but the same radio is used for all of our reading systems that we offer. One big thing that we do is we operate it. Power is your distance in the radio gain. So the more power you have, the greater you can transmit your message or reading out. And we operate at the highest power output available on the market, which is at 2 watts, which some competitions at 100 milliwatts, which would make us at 2,000. And all that does again is get the reading pushed out further into the system, so that maybe you guys don't have to drive down every single road, maybe it's every other road. But we do have some mapping features as well that I can show you that we can help speed things up here.
Can that unit be left in the basement of the house and still?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we do is we just take 3 wires from the meter, wire it into the box itself, and install that box. The higher you get it, the more range you're going to get as well. But we have people that keep it right by the meters and zip tie to the pipe in the basement. You just may have to get close to that house to read that meter. But if you can get it up in the sill a little bit and above ground level as high as you can, that's just going to help you get that message out further when you read. Yep.
Okay.
They're available in single port or dual port, which just dual port is you can hook 2 meters up to 1 box. So that's just a piece that when we order them, we just need to know how many of which you want to have. Again, we have the leak detection stuff out there. So how that works is those meters are recording those alarms that we have, right? And when you come around to read the meters, our units are going to wake up at that time. Our radio units are not talking at any other time besides when you're reading meters. So it hears a tone from your reading devices, which I'll show you some examples of here in a minute, and it's going to interrogate the meter at that exact time. So it's going to go down through the wire and look at the meter that's sitting in Rob's house when we're coming by Rob's house there. And it's going to say, hey, what's your reading? And do you have any alarms available for me? And if you do, all of that information comes back out, it's transmitted over the radio network to our handheld devices where we collect that info. So we have that piece that comes through and again stores that in our handheld device, which I'll talk in a minute here. One other thing that we do as well is we operate on our own frequency. So there's no FCC licensing that the town has to worry about. EJP handles the paperwork because Census owns the frequency that we operate on. So we don't have any issues as far as renewing that license or any issues with that. There's a simple document that gets filled out that just says who the contact point at the city or town there, and that's all we do on the paperwork side for us. There's a battery inside of the radio unit as well, same exact battery that's in an iPearl. So the same meter that's in the radio unit is the same meter that's in an iPearl. So if you were to put both in today, they both have a 15-year full warranty at that point going forward. And again, if anything fails on either one, you get a brand new unit back in its spot with a brand new warranty moving forward. So same warranty again, 15-year full, 5-year prorated. We have a couple different devices that we can do our meter readings with. And Census makes their own equipment, but it's a little overkill for what we've seen in a lot of cities and towns that are out there. So we partnered with a company called Juniper, which is a smaller device over on the right. It's about a third of the cost maybe of the handheld devices from Census, but that's another little rugged type tablet there. The gray gun that's in the middle is our Census touch gun. So you don't have to be 100% radio read either to use equipment to automate the billing process of just utility billing. You can have some touch pads out there, you can have some radios, and that can be a mixture of whatever you want it to be. So that that gun in the middle there is a Bluetooth gun. Again, it's Bluetooth to any device that has a Bluetooth connection ability, which is everything, right? So we can Bluetooth this to a tablet, an iPad, again, anything like that, and use that device to do meter reading going forward. The only other thing we need is this little blue box here, which is what we call our Census command link. So this is like an antenna. So this Bluetooth as well to whatever device we want to do our meter reading with. So we use this to do our programming and our reading. And I think I got a picture here, if not, I'll bring one up. But as you go around and do readings, your handheld device, your tablet, whatever we have that information stored on, is connected to this blue box, the command link via, again, Bluetooth. So as soon as that account at Rob's house, we've told the handheld, hey, Rob has iPearl number 12345 in it, and it's hooked to radio number 6789110. The handheld knows that information and tells the command link, hey, I need you to go read Rob's radio of 6789110 and bring me back that information. And the tablet and this command link do all of that without anybody having to touch anything or do anything going forward with those units. The larger unit you see down on the bottom here, this is called our VGB. So a VGB is a laptop-based device. This is about the size of maybe a small, I wouldn't say a suitcase, but a laptop, a big laptop. And this can read, maybe a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles around itself. So it's a device that goes in the vehicle itself, and it's connected to the laptop via just a cable cord, and it can read again for a mile or 2 miles or so around it going forward. And then we have 2 sets of software. So the software end, do you guys use NIMRIC for utility billing?
Yes.
Yeah, so NIMRIC's the king up there in Vermont. So we have a whole bunch of different utilities that use NIMRIC. So your metering information is stored in NIMRIC. And what we do is we would get a file that comes out of NIMRIC, and we load it through this program called AutoRead. And what AutoRead does is it converts that file from NIMRIC into a file that our handhelds know what that information is. So again, we can load that onto a tablet, iPad, iPhone, any sort of device that we want to put that on. So that does that work for us as we go through it. We set this all up because, again, we worked with NIMRIC 100 times over there in Vermont. People go out to do the meter reading. They bring that device back to the office. We connect back through AutoRead, and we pull all of that information out of the handheld device, and we create a file that goes directly back into NIMRIC. So we completely remove that process of entering any data into NIMRIC manually. So we automate that entire process of meter reading, and that's what AutoRead does for our clients. AutoView on the bottom here is our software that's used for a laptop device. So that's just a little bigger package that has all of that information inside of it. Again, that unit can read 2 square miles around itself and pull all of that information in very, very, very quickly. FieldLogic is the software we use to do our meter reading on our tablet. So this is just the software that, again, communicates to AutoRead. It is what does all of the talking back and forth between the meters, the command link, the touch gun if you don't have all your radios in, and it's really the brains of the operation for everything that's going on. So This would have all of your account information, addresses, meter numbers, customer names, all visible on the screen for our meter reader. As a reading comes into the system, it pulls that account off the screen. So you would just see a list of addresses listed out there. And again, as soon as it gets the meter reading, it puts a green check mark next to it and then pulls that account off the screen. So that the meter reader knows that they just have to go to these certain devices still, get those meter readings out there. And again, the software can do manual read, touch read, or radio read, all with the same unit and the same devices that we're talking about. Again, there you can see it's Android compatible, iOS compatible, Windows compatible. So really, any device that we can think of, we can put our software on and make it talk back and forth to all different pieces. Any questions?
If we were to want to go out and read, what's involved in setting up the route on the handheld and then going back to the billing part of it?
Perfect. So all of that happens in this auto read software, which I talked about, which is this kind of picture up here on the top. So how many accounts do you guys have there?
About 200.
Okay, so we would load all 200 in probably at once. And what it does is the process starts in NIMRIC. So NIMRIC does a process where they call rolling the books. So NIMRIC rolls the books. They give us a file that has all the information for those 200 accounts. We load that file into AutoRead, which is a click of 2 buttons. We're going to hit import and execute. It's going to pull that new information in from NIMRIC. And we do this every time in case maybe a house got sold, right? We get a new customer name or a new account number. Meter got changed. Maybe a new radio got put on the house. So every time that you read, we do this same process for meter reading. The next step we do is what's called load data. So all we do is we grab this function bar. Watch this. I'll show you how to read. This will be easier. So this is what auto read looks like, and it might be a little hard for you guys to see, but we set this all up for you guys. This is what the support group does for EJP. So we look at this file from NIMRIC and say, hey, this is our account number, this is the meter number, this is the radio read number, this is all this, and we do all the configuration and setup for you guys. And this function box here is what operates everything that goes on inside auto read. So like I said, I would hit import, and then I literally would hit execute. And this would pull that file in that would have those 200 accounts in it. My next step would be to hit load data and execute. And that is now going to take that file from NIMRIC and it's going to put it into the device that we're going to use to go do meter reading. From there, we're going to go out and get all our meter reads. Okay, so we're going to collect our 200 or so reads. We're going to bring that device back to the office. I'm going to hit read data and execute. It's going to connect to that device, pull all of those readings out now, stick me out a report, it's got all kinds of information in it that we can customize, but also create a file for me that's going to go back into NIMRIC automatically. So now we're going to go back into NIMRIC and say, hey, I want to import all those meter readings. It's going to import all the reads, put them on all the accounts. Now you're just going to do your process of editing, looking at any high consumption, low consumption, the same process that you go through for billing after the fact at that point.
Is there any way to know when a battery is going low, or does it just die? Is there any sort of warning or?
Nope. So 3 different ways we do that. In iPearl, we're going to get a 12-month heads up. So say, hey, I'm starting to die. Here's my 12-month warning. Then you're going to send them again at 6 months. Say, hey, 6-month warning, 3-month warning, 1-month warning. Then he's going to be dead. So we're going to let you know 12 months ahead of time. That's on iPearl, the SmartPoint, and on the Omni. And when the Omni has a low battery warning, what that actually does too is it puts a question mark in the last spot of the reading. So that tells us, if you say, hey, I got some Omni registers, and I'm getting question marks off of the reads now. Rob knows that means you got a low battery on that Omni register, and we're going to get that swapped out. Now the Omni's going to keep reading, and it's going to keep reading, and it's going to keep storing that info, but every time we go to read it electronically, it's gonna throw that question mark up. And it's a feature that Census wants you to go look at the register at that point, and if you did, you would see a battery icon flashing on the screen of the register. And again, that does that on all meters.
What's the difference between a magnetic meter and a radar meter?
So magnetic actually generates an electrical current inside of the flow of water. So that mag technology creates a magnetic flow between 2 points inside of that flow tube of the meter. The greater the flow, the higher the current. So we are actually measuring the electrical current that the water is producing based on the flow or speed of how quickly it's going through that meter. So mag meters have been used in plants forever, right? You see them in treatment plants, pump stations, all that sort of stuff. We Census brought it down to the level that it's in a residential water meter. Radar is a little different where radar a lot of times tries to bounce stuff, and ultrasonic is another term you'll hear sometimes. Ultrasonic bounces the things off mirrors. So there's a set of mirrors inside of a water meter, and it bounces a signal off of those mirrors, and how long it takes to go back and forth between those points is how quickly or what the flow is of that water. The issue can be at times is, depending on your water quality, those mirrors sometimes can become fogged, or sometimes we've seen in smaller situations, the mirrors can be too close together on residential meters at times, depending on manufacturers, and they're not as accurate over time, is what we've seen. So let's explore both options and went with the mag version for the iPearl.
Rob, question for you. What towns in the state of Vermont use these systems or these two meters?
You're muted. You're muted.
He's frozen. He's muted.
St. Albans is using our system. Williston is using our system. Tri-Town Water down in Addison is using our meters. Shelburne has used our meters in the past. Trying to think if anybody else off the top of my head up in this area. I think that's it, but I can certainly get you some names of some people to talk to if that's what you would like.
Just curious more than anything.
Yep.
Yeah, St. Albans would definitely be our largest customer that way using iPearl, the radio system. They actually use our fixed base system. They have 3 antennas around town, and the reads come into City Hall all day, every day. In St. Albans.
Do you have any questions?
I do have a question. We can read as many times as we want without billing, correct?
Absolutely, and that's what we're seeing happen more and more often. So, before kind of the standard was quarterly, right? Maybe you read once a quarter, bill once a quarter. A lot of people are maybe once a year, twice a year. But you can read every month. You can read every week if you wanted to, and just get that data that's there. So you can just read every week and say, hey, all we're looking for are leak alarms. And we're just going to print a report that says these 5 houses indicated a leak alarm. You can contact them and say, hey, we read your meter, and we saw that you have a potential leak going on. You may want to check out these plumbing situations so that it doesn't run continuously for a week, 2 weeks, a month before someone fixes something, and then they realize the water bill's high and the sewer bill's even higher most of the time. So absolutely, we can do that.
Is there a price difference between the handheld going to each house and the drive-by that's in the laptop in the truck, or is it the same?
So the boxes themselves. Let me share my screen again just so I can show you pictures. Right. So these boxes are required for, depending on which system you go with, right? These are the radio devices that are gonna talk to whatever you're doing. The main difference in price after that is how you read it. So you have these options, you know, you might spend, I mean, you could do this with an iPad. You can do it with a simple Android tablet for $600 and have this command link for $600 and for $1,200 be all in with reading equipment. This laptop unit down here is about 20 grand.
Glad we're sitting down.
But you're gonna read, I mean, even a tablet and a command link, you're probably gonna read from 1,000 to 2,000 feet away. So as you're driving through town, you're reading everything that you can talk to even out in front of you, and you know you're reading it as you're going along, right? So I don't think Sheldon's that big where you can, it's a $20,000 unit, you probably could turn it on at town hall there and read most of the town, where you may just have to, you know, drive around a little bit and get all the rest of it.
On the accounting side of it, who would we ask for help if we were having an issue with loading our routes and getting it through billing, and if something went wrong, where is the person we're gonna find to help us?
You're talking to one of them right now. So,
Okay.
again, I'm part of a group that, there's 7 of us inside of EJP that all we do are metering systems. So we're all certified by Census, we have our own support team. So we have 3 sales guys that are trained to do sales and support. So we're the first line, but we also have a dedicated person that sits at a desk for New England that just does technical support for our customers as well. So you'll have access to, you have 4 people in New England at EJP, and then if we can't figure it out, we go to Census, who has a whole technical support group of their own, with the 800 number, you know, that's live 10 hours a day. So you'd have both of those options available to you.
Anybody else got questions?
I'm all good.
Other than, I guess we just have to figure out the price. This month. Yep.
Well, thank you for
And
your
we have some
information.
options too. We can break out some financial stuff in-house as well, break out payments, you know, if you're to a point where we wanna discuss financial stuff too, after, you know, you guys talk, reach out to us, because we can do some stuff inside of EJP where we do some internal financing to, instead of coming at you all at once with a big price tag, we can break those pieces out over time. So we can do that as well.
Excellent.
It's good to know.
All right. Thank you for your information, and we'll discuss
You're very
all
welcome.
this, and we'll be getting back to you probably.
Sounds great?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys, appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
You got it.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Well.
Sounds good.
Sounds easy.
What other
Yeah,
options?
right, I know.
Sounds easy
Yeah,
on
sounds
that.
easy. You just right around. It'll work.
No, it sounds easy,
Take
get
it.
them from the software to
To
the
the billing
meter.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounded a lot easier than what we do now.
I mean, I don't know what you do now, but that seemed pretty simplistic.
About 5 minutes, you should be up and going.
Yeah, it takes us what, a day, 2 days? You get it.
I put them on you, but you go try to read them again.
I come back now, they don't read nothing.
Yeah, and there's no readings on the meter. So
Sounds like this one tells you you're reading it as you go,
And
so,
it's telling you who you read,
right.
or,
Like, we should have asked him, does the meter reading come up? Because he said it gives you a check mark and it was red, but does it actually show you the reading?
yeah,
Because that's where we have the problem, where it's the same reading, it's like, no, I don't want that reading, I want another.
right?
So, what other options is there out there?
Well, with the other one there, that core in Maine, theirs is a radar meter. Which I don't know if it's as good or Jim, around $40,000 set up. I think this one was around 75,
The full setup.
all set up. But the difference is the core and main one uses iTron, which we've already got as a billing. We're back in that same billing issue. Yeah. So, and maybe the difference there in price is they're quoting us at $20,000 laptop versus the $600.
Mhm.
You know?
An iPad and the
Yeah.
stick there, it sounds like you can have it set up for $1,200. Maybe we're quoting us, like you said, for 20,000, which that makes a huge difference.
Right.
And the big one that he's talking about will not work here, like he can't read from this office because our cell reception,
Yeah,
we'd never get Sheldon Spring.
no.
I don't know. It's,
I mean, I like the part that you don't have to go to each house, you can literally, because the way it expands out.
That does it now,
But I'm just saying that you have the ability
yeah.
to drive and not have to,
it sounds like it goes farther than the one we have now, because ours only reach like down to the river and partway up the street. You know, not too far.
Said about 1,000 feet, right?
Yeah, well, that would be,
Without the iPad and the
yeah.
box.
Yeah.
So, about that.
So would this need to be done, like change them all, or?
Yeah, because if you go to this
Yeah,
system,
You'd have a whole different system.
A whole different
Yeah.
system. the other one, you could change them out and still be using
But
this.
then you'll be in the same predicament you are now. You're not getting the right readings, or it's not reading right, and you can't get things set up to billing.
and our meters right now don't read that low of a flow, do they?
Yeah, they'll be,
Even the 2-inch ones too? Or,
yeah, they're all, they're, ones we have now are magnetic.
okay.
Ours aren't that old. I mean,
Yeah, I know they're not.
I think he was talking ones that are 60 years old and
Right.
stuff, but
Yeah.
it seems like we just went through putting meters in here.
We
Yeah.
did.
But what year was
Do they
that?
know, are the dimensions close, so those will slip right in?
They should all slip right in. They're all a standard,
Good.
all meters are standard fitting, I believe.
So would you just hire a contractor and say, here, we got 200 meters put in?
That would be the,
Probably the way to do it.
that, and we don't pay them all until they're all in, like last one.
Yeah. Yeah, if we can find somebody to do it.
Because last time we got, like, 3/4 of them or so in, and then they didn't want,
Then they got sick of it and then come back.
I'm sure we could put a bid out to say we got 200 meters to put in. Give us a price.
Yeah, well, the first company, the outfit we had, they thought, wow, that sounds like fun, we'll be down there. Slow time, and they got doing it, figured out it took longer than I thought. Just making the appointments and getting to people's houses, and then it seemed like it dragged on, and then they didn't want to come back and finish.
Mhm.
So I also believe that some of that government money, is that,
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Yes.
Does that qualify? I mean, it's water infrastructure, so it should qualify.
Right. yeah,
That would probably be a good use for it. Looking at the water side and the sewer side, the revenues keeping up with, you know?
on what, the water or the?
Well, I was nervous about sewer, actually, looking at those numbers.
The sewer does have more expenses.
The sewer is never kept up.
Never kept up. So you're not nervous about it? It's been that way.
Been that way for,
Okay. Major blow up, is that blow up?
long as it Greg used to say, without the sewer system down there, and the rest of the people in town paying for it. Which is actually kind of true, because Sheldon Springs is convenience to the rest of the town.
Cause the sewer revenue last year was 75,000. The sewer expenses were 67,000, so doesn't give you a lot of leeway for the breakdowns. I was just curious what your thoughts on that are. The water seems to be doing all right, right?
Yeah.
Water revenue, water revenue was 132,000. Water expenses were,
That's,
170.
but that's because we took 2 payments out of the water.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Um,
because you took a year off.
but the sewer users, there's not as many, that's why.
Yeah, no, I know, but just thinking that there isn't a whole lot of leeway there. You know, maybe less than $3,000 profit for the end of the year. But as long as it's keeping its head above water. And maybe when we get these new meters in, they'll be accurate enough, we can, try to base our sewer charges on the water usage.
On the water.
That was my hope when we first put meters in.
Yeah.
To make it more fair, you know.
Well,
meters
right now, we don't have much of a flow coming in down there.
No.
Ever since they fixed that leak on the hydrant line by the church,
Yeah. Really, that's.
this
So that
warm
was-
weather,
that
the
was
other day,
adding-
we only had
That was
6,000.
adding some water to our sewer system. Yeah.
Coming in
Yeah,
from the sewer?
yeah.
Do you think we got a frozen line somewhere?
No, I don't think so. Just, it's been like that since they fixed the line. It's just been, because it was leaking across the road into that catch basin
Yeah.
and went to the sewer plant.
Well, you've done some work on that corner in the last few years, cause you did that other side of the road there. That was a mess there,
Yeah.
cause that, a lot of that water was going down the sewer plant too, wasn't it? That catch
Some of it,
basin.
yeah. Yeah. It still needs to be fixed for the road, you know, just for the roads. As it is. That's something, what is it, 4-inch pipe in there, David, was it? Something like that. Small one. They couldn't take the water coming down, so then it would just run down the road too. So,
Someday that Mill Street probably needs to be all dug up and no sewer line up through there.
well, that was on our wish list. Those,
So,
you know, and that's the problem. The sewer plant doesn't generate enough to really.
to do these projects,
Do these
so that's what it was.
A lot of the manholes need to be refinished inside, some of the bricks are falling and, you know. Dig it up and put another manhole in there between the rail trail and the post office. That wouldn't be cheap, I'm sure. Those are at least 2 things that really ought to be done. Because between the post office and the rail trail, we don't know how it goes down through there, but it does.
Yeah.
We've tried to jet it for both directions, and you can only get so far. Whether there could be a buried manhole in there, that's why you can't get past it from either direction, don't know. Don't know what's in there. Then I'd like to, with this low flow, as soon as the weather warms up, gets this spring, like where we had our plug up last summer, I'd like to get that all jetted down through there. Try to do a section a year somewhere, so that at least we'll know that it's cleaned out, because I'm sure there's probably still some roots in there that they cut the trees all down, but they're still there probably.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you guys think we get some positive numbers on these meters? And
Yep.
Let's see.
have a little better idea of what their system
Right.
is and
Yeah.
what we need and what we wish for are two different things, so.
Or at least what to ask for.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a wonder on their readers too. They said in like pit readers, if there's a difference between like the house mounted readers and the pit readers.
Yeah, I don't know.
or-
Should've,
Yeah, what we'll need. I don't know if the salesman would know.
I almost think you could put the same reader in a pit, just knock down, you put it right up at the top, on top of that insulation. So it's sticking it down where it's gonna get in the water. All right then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hubert.
Yep.
Hubert.
Actually, thought we were going to see here tonight.
Yeah, I did. Tell them what you're gonna do to me.
We'll get you one of these times on that, don't worry.
That's all now.
Oh, what's
That logo you have right there,
yeah,
that's on our town trucks,
yeah,
and it's on our town garage sign.
yeah.
Is that something we could use for our town logo, letterhead?
See why not.
What do you use now?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Maybe Joe could get us a new picture.
I got cool enough struggle cited in there.
And a quick compliments of this picture.
I have to, that took that.
Really, that they really like that picture.
Yeah, that's odd, isn't it?
Interesting. I'll read the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Select Board Water Commissioner meeting minutes from January 24th of 2022. Present was Stephen Dodd, Seth Hungerford, David Kluget, Nick Norris, Kim Dufresne, and Seth Patel. Opened the meeting at 7:30 and read the agenda. Seth Patel, the highway foreman, updated the board. Salt shed needs repairs, possible grant next year. Entrance could be altered to improve salt deliveries. Culvert on the Heald Road, he's waiting for engineer's cost to replace. Utility truck replacement, Seth will start looking for cost of trucks, plow and hydraulic sander. Signed warrants 2203 and 2204. Signed fleet permits, signed liquor licenses for the Abbey Group. Read meeting minutes from January 10th meeting. Seth motion to accept is read, seconded by David, and all in favor. Read the minutes from January 18th meeting. Seth motion to accept is read, seconded by Steve. Nick motion to move town meeting floor vote to Australian ballot per S-172, seconded by David, and all in favor. Clerk will post on the website and newspapers. We approve the town meeting warning, and Seth motion to approve the 2022 budget. of $1,646,640, seconded by Nick, and all in favor. 9 o'clock, Seth motion to go into executive session, seconded by David, and all in favor. At 9:30, we exited executive session. We discussed an email from Randy Brock, Vermont State Senator and Minority Leader, about the tax appeal that we're ongoing. At 9:30, Seth motion to adjourn, seconded by David, and all in favor. Meeting adjourned. Take a motion to accept these minutes as read.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
This is the AMCare agreement. You read that through again?
I did.
Yeah. So does this say when this goes in effect? Yeah.
I believe it was April.
This came from him,
From Roger.
and this is that day they took it off, or do you know when
I don't
they
know
finally?
when they took it off.
Do you have a budget or, not budget, a proposal, like how much it's gonna cost, are you gonna get pre-made, or you gonna get stamps, or what do you?
I was thinking, I'm not sure how we're gonna do it, or if we could just put them onto.
Just a thought so far, just a thought,
Exactly.
okay.
Like we could just have it all be set up on our paper when we go to use it.
Yeah, so this goes into effect April 1st. Let's get the schedule A on the back here with the dates. It's effective from April 1st to March 31st each year. The annual cost, we have to pay a monthly payment.
But then, there's no like automatic renewal, right? Because I think he's gonna put that clause, or that in there, remember, we talked about
We're
that.
on up for 10 years.
Yeah, him, because the old one did, and he said he didn't want that, and we didn't want that, so I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't like the automatic renewal. And I know it's 10 years from now.
Right.
But I think it
Oh,
does
at the
give
end
us-
of the 10 years?
At the end of the 10 years.
Yeah, it doesn't say, it just says that, we're on the hook for 10 years,
Yeah.
whether we use their service. You guys want to look at this before we, sign it, or?
Yeah, if you're good with it, and
It's all pretty much what we talked about there before.
as long as at the,
And,
like I said, the end of the 10 years.
You usually just sign these here.
See that? Just for
FYI.
FYI. Anything else we need to discuss?
If we can go into executive at the end,
Okay.
the first one.
Alright, let's just get this stuff finished up and then we can go to that. Get these all set.
Mm-hmm.
Happy with the book, Kim?
Yeah, well, I know.
Got any mistakes there?
Oh, there's a couple spelling. Did we get it footage, you know, and you're like, oh, yeah. Rick, yeah, these things spelled wrong.
Well, at least Sheldon's not.
Clerk's right. The clerk's spelled right.
Yeah. Funny too, because we look at this book so many times before it goes to print, we get it back, we're putting the addresses on it, you know, you just flip it and you're like, oh, look at that.
Yeah. Oh, we're humans.
Yeah.
So,
See down there? What's the fire down this year up there? Yeah, it was a trailer fire. Oh, yeah, it's right across the street from the, old Macy's trailer.
Yeah, that's
And
when
then
they,
said it, or,
that's when they dream on
it wasn't bad, but they called it.
Yeah. That's good. We certainly had our share of them right now.
Yeah.
Odd fires too.
Still in that one. You may not want a picture because it may not totally pan out. You want just like a drawing type image in there, you know, in the middle of the circle. The picture may not, it may be too,
You could get a high resolution probably one. That's definitely.
no, I'm just saying, but that may be more too, you know what I mean, unless it was just like an image, you know, stencil or whatever they want to, it's not the real house.
Alright,